my fellow YouTubers, how are you today? And today I'll be reviewing Yugioh Darkside of Dimensions. Now, Yugioh Darkside of Dimensions, it is the 20th anniversary film of Yugioh in Toto, and boy is Yugioh popular. I mean, think about five TV shows, soon to be six, with Yugioh frames coming in the way, and every new show we get some new monsters. Like in 5 years we got Synchro, Sexo, we got XACs, Arc 5 we got Pendulum, and now we're going to get Link monsters in Frames. And I'm very excited to see Frames. Oh, I love Yukio so much. What I like about this game is that it's entertaining. It makes you think. It makes you need to use your brain, calculating moves, thinking what your opponent's trap card or monster effects are going to do. It's where you use your imagination. And in this film, we get to see this imagination again with the return of so many wonderful, memorable characters. I actually think the original Yukio characters are the most memorable out of all the franchises, since they get the most references nowadays. Yeah, let's start off with the film. Firstly, this film isn't based on the anime. Yes, they used the original voice actors for the anime. However, this film is actually based on the manga, like the actual black and white comic manga. So, in some scenes in the scene where Kaiba goes to the original, to the ancient dueling grounds where Yuki and Atom had their final duel, he asks, "This is where little Yuki had his duel." That's because in the original manga, he wasn't present at that duel, while in the anime, he was present. So again, this film was based on the manga, and it has a lot of different continuity. I think that may have been a possible weakness in the film, because I think more people see the anime than the original manga, since the manga had a lot of differences, such as like a whole arc before season 1, Duelist Kingdom, Pegasus being killed by the Millennium Ring, no Orichalcos saga, an alternative saga involving the Wicked Gods. But again, it really depends how much of a nerd you are. But either way, let's talk about the film. Well, it's set about 3 years, I think, after the final chapter where Yuki and Atom had their final duel. In it, it's been revealed that Kaiba has developed a new duel disc, two types of new duel discs. One that creates virtual cards from every card he ever used, and the second type that uses physical cards. And I have to say, these duel discs look really incredible. I mean, I like them. I like the design. I like their technology that you get this virtual layer around them, and you can go like Dragon Ball level with the game. It looks amazing for holographic technology. I mean, it's more advanced than the dual discs used in 5DS or GX. I think the closest dual discs that come to this level are the ones used in Sexo and Arc 5. But even so, they look incredible, and I really, really hope they came into a toy one day. We learned that Kaiba is actually trying to figure a way to bring back the foe back to life by trying to get the Millennium pieces back together, so he can remake the Millennium puzzle. However, someone's in the way. Our antagonist for the film, known as Agami, whose real name is Diva. Now, Diva is an interesting villain, I found. I mean, I know some people may have issues with him, but I like his origins, that he had a bad life with his followers, and he was saved by Shadi. He was later killed by the spirit of the Millennium Ring, who in return just whole life got messed around. Now, Diva is trying to use this special 8th Millennium item in the dub. It's called the 8th Millennium item, to send people to this virtual reality, where they can easily get erased by forgetting who they are. And he's also introduced a new type of summoning system called Dimension Summoning. Now, I really liked Dimension Summoning. It looked cool, like a bit of a mixture of Dragon Ball-ish with the Dragon Ball key, basically to dimension summon, you can summon your most powerful monsters like 5, 6, 7, or 8 level 8 monsters without tributing, and all you have to do is just really power up to the max their attack points. So like they can have 100 attack points or 3,000 attack points. However, there is a consequence. So if your monster is destroyed in battle, you won't take life point damage due to the difference. You take life point damage equal to the attack power of the monsters you dimension summoned. And I thought that was actually cool. Well, I mean, I hope they put it into a game. I mean, Pendulum Summons just changed recently, and we're being introduced to how Link summoning works. But either way, it looked like a cool prospect dimension summoning, and, and it was cool while it lasted. But then we go to our main characters, Yuki and the gang, and I really love these characters, Yuki and Joey and the others. They're all fantastic characters, and they're just sweet. They really are a good team, and I would love to have these guys as friends. So let's see. You see, it turns out in the film that they are slowly approaching their final year of school and are going to graduate very soon. And I like hearing about their dreams. Like Taya is going to go to a ballet school in New York. Joey wants to continue his career as a professional duelist, and Tristan, he doesn't actually want. Is actually trying to find an alternative future, since it said that his future will have him work for his dad, and I can see that, like, he wants to be his own man. It's actually cool. And Yuki actually just wants to make a game that everyone will enjoy, a new original game everyone can enjoy, and that's why I like Yuki. I mean, I know he may be a wimpy hero, but truth is, I love the character. He's a cool kid, and he does care about his friends. And later they show to Diva, who's put false memories into their heads, that who's actually a classmate of theirs, but in reality he's spying. And then it's later revealed who he really is. When he kidnaps Bakoa, it turns out Bakoa's father was looking for the Millennium Ring, and they found Shadi and the Millennium Mother with all the pieces on it. Bakoa's father was killed by the Millennium Ring, and when Bakoa put it on, he killed Shadi. And I like this because we have a motive. It turns out because the Millennium Spirit was a memorable villain. He was at times really Moriarty to it, and I like that scene. It was so cool. And then later we found out that Kaiba has found the remains of the Millennium Puzzle, and he built a whole space station in space just to solve it. I was like, damn! I mean, a whole space station in space to build a puzzle. I mean, I know it's a difficult puzzle, but damn! But later it's revealed that Diva stole 2 pieces of the Millennium Puzzle, and his sister gave one to Yuki, while he has the other. Later, Kaiba put on a special tournament to promote his new duel discs, and it was a cool tournament. I mean, we got to see these duel discs in action, and it was cool. The reason why Yuki entered was so he can save free Bakoa from Diva by beating him in a duel, and which Yuki did, of course. But unfortunately, it wasn't over yet. And then he and Kaiba had their duel, and I've got to say, I loved Kaiba's new dragons. Neo Blue Eyes White Dragon, Deep Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. You know, Kaiba is the master of the Blue Eyes White Dragons. I like seeing that in a character. But throughout the duel, we found out that Diva has absorbed the dark powers of the Millennium Ring, the remnant power. And by absorbing it, he's become this horrible monster who's trying to send people to an alternative dimension to be erased. Then Yuki and Kaiba cancel the duel and tag team against him. Kaiba loses, when Kaiba loses the duel, but when Yuki's about to lose, the spirit of the Millennium Puzzle comes to him, and the Pharaoh makes one brief return and defeats Diva once and for all, freeing him from the evil powers of the Millennium Ring. And later, we'll, Yuki and Atom have this lovely see eye to eye scene where Atom just gives him the wink, says you're good, mate, and then later, Diva and his family, they're able to continue their lives together. Uh, Yuki and his friends have one final goodbye when they decide to live out their futures. And Kaiba, I don't know how exactly, if it was virtual world, but in the end, he's able to go to ancient Egypt and do the pharaoh, where they will have their final duel. Now, that's the story of it, the gist of it. I hope I pronounced it correctly, because I can slack off easily. Let's talk about the characters. Well, first of all, let's talk about the villain, Diva, or otherwise Agami. I like this character because in some ways he was grieving. I mean, Shadi, well, this incarnation of Shadi was like his father, his mentor, someone he cared about, and killing and his death probably can easily send anyone screw loose. That's what I liked about it, that he wanted revenge, but at the same time he kind of easily dubbed humanity bad. But I also liked how he represented dimension summoning. That was a cool method. But the problem with Diva is that I don't think he had enough character. I mean, he did do well as a villain, but I felt like he could have had a bit more character to himself, because he felt a bit. There are sometimes he could be deep and sometimes he could be bland. But I felt it was hard. It's hard to say. I'm kind of in the middle of him being a good villain or a bad villain. But either way, it's interesting to see how grief. I think he's an evidence of what grief can do to you, and when you really just need to let it out in order to save your sanity. But let's talk about the gang now. Yuki, he is awesome again. We see what his life is like without the pharaoh. He's still the top duelist, and he's hoping to live a good future with his friends. Like, I mean, he's trying to live his life still, his life still with his grandfather, just getting through his final days at school. But he's just the same old Yuki, and that's what I like. I just like seeing this Yuki. I know he misses the pharaoh, but it's nice seeing him that it hasn't affected him deeply. Like, I mean, he does miss him, but he's still able to live out his life. It was a cool scene. And now we have Joey. Joey, God, I love Joey. He's my favorite character in all of Yukio. I think he's a great character, and I'm just seeing his life's journey in the anime, how he became a complete novice into the third best duelist in the world. In it, we see that Joey's problem is actually trying to find money to buy Kaiba's new duel disc, since I think his one has become redundant due to the new technology. And there's a funny scene where he actually tries to frame Tristan into breaking his duel disc so he can sue him. I found that a cool scene. And I liked seeing Joey again, and I like the scene where Agami kidnapped him and put him in that alternative dimension. It was a cool scene where it's pretty much a battle of will and power. It was awesome. I liked seeing it. As for Tristan and Taya, they were pretty much the same. Always good-hearted, nice to be around, nice seeing. I'm glad they were able to get some screen time. They were awesome characters. You can't have the group without them. I think this movie really gave Bakoa some credit, since we got to see some more of his past. I mean, that was a horrific scene. What happened to his father? I'm just amazed he was able to keep it under control so much. It was a good scene seeing his past and the origins of the Millennium Spirit. I just didn't know it happened to him at such a young age. Damn, must have been traumatizing. And despite all this time, he still feels guilty about the acts of the Millennium Ring. Oh boy, poor Bakoa. But at least he was able to get free of the ring. But I think the real spotlight of the movie has to go to Kaiba, because Kaiba really went full out in this film. Because in some weird way, I think Kaiba actually was grieving for the pharaoh. I mean, I know Kaiba has been a lot of the times a jackass, but to be fair, I could understand his feelings. He and the pharaoh weren't friends, but at the same time, Kaiba got the worst victory a rival could have. default. Kaiba won not because of his skill, not because of his technology, but because he beat the foe just by simply being alive, and that sucks. He felt unsatisfied. That's the worst type of victory you could give a rival. And there's even a scene where he's in denial, like he tells Yuki that he doesn't believe him, that the foe isn't gone, and I think Kaiba was grieving. Like I said, he was grieving, and he even went so far just to get the Pharaoh back. You have denial and even trying to fix the situation. That's at least two stages of grief. But even so, he was a badass, and he did show some cool scenes. And and he just showed how ridiculous he's willing to go to play his game. What else about the film? I liked the new cards, like seeing these memorable cards, like new Blue Eyes White Dragon and Sagi the Dark Clown, and even a new reprint of Dark Magician. I liked Yuki's other Dark Magician girls, these vegetable Dark Magician girls. They were awesome, and I just liked the duels in it. I felt action in it, the dimension summoning in it, and these new cards. They were fun. I hope they get uploaded into a video game someday. So, Yugioh Darkside of Dimensions, it's a good film. If these are how these characters leave, I'm happy. I'm happy this is the final epilogue for these characters, because I love these characters. They were part of my childhood. I'll always love Yukio in the game. It's one of the best games I ever have played in my life. I would recommend it for anyone. This film does a good job showing how much of a beauty this game is, and despite no matter how many shows come or how many years, the original anime, will always have the biggest legacy of the others. Yukio, you're the best. Thank you for making this film, and happy 20th anniversary.